Hey, this is Eli Campbell. You know, Steamboat is renowned worldwide for skiing, biking, and all that our natural playground has to offer. We're fortunate, though, that the natural beauty here attracts more than just outdoor enthusiasts. From local legends to world-class acts, amazing musicians regularly play the venues in our little corner of Northwest Colorado. Join me as I explore the stories and experiences of these talented artists who bring unforgettable performances to Steamboat. This is your Steamboat Sound Check. Welcome to the Steamboat Sound Check podcast. Eli Campbell here with you. Steamboat Sound Check sponsored by McCreight Progressive Dentistry, and we are continuing our support of Schmiggity's, highlighting the bands that are coming through their great venue in downtown Steamboat Springs. Right now, I'm joined by Michelle and Jason of Banshee Tree. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Doing
It's good to
great.
be
Well,
here.
I'm excited to have you here. You're going to be playing at Schmiggity's this Saturday evening, February 1st. It's a great venue in downtown Steamboat Springs, brings a lot of energy from the crowd, I'm sure from you guys as well, with your unique blend of kind of different genres that you all come together. I'm just curious, with all the different backgrounds that you guys bring to the table, how do you combine your efforts into one harmonious sound of Banshee Tree?
It's been years of experimentation. Um, kind of we had a weekly residency, and through that we kind of just experimented and improvised a lot with songs and kind of put them all in a blender. And I think we really came to like what our sound is through, after years of doing that, we made our first album and we were like, okay, how does this actually translate to being presented in a kind of like cohesive way to people? And through that is how we developed what we have now.
The band started as a jazz band, which was like a jazz band and a busking band. We had we would play mostly standards. We had some original music, and some of the songs that we still play to this point are from that era, just pretty reimagined at this point. I think having that background of just like Michelle was saying, playing a lot, having a consistent residency, but also like the improvising and playing these songs over and over, you learn each like little nook and cranny of it, and you have all these options of ways to build out from it. And very slowly these things evolve, but it's felt it's happened so gradually that I almost haven't noticed like this. But I know like listening back to old things, I'm like, we sounded pretty different at one point. And it's but the same, and it's been a cool ride. I've enjoyed playing in this band.
Yeah, and you can hear the jazz element still in what you're doing, but it's a fusion of so much more than jazz now with a little rock and indie and everything else. It's a great blend of sound. Now, I'm curious, Jason, you were an ethnomusicology major in school. I don't even know what that means, first of all, but if you
It's
weren't in
like
a band,
it's
how would you
part of
even apply
culture.
that?
It's part of cultural anthropology, and I went to liberal arts college, so I did like I never really became like an ethnomusicologist. I never did like an ethnography of a place, but I think I've read like more like more anthropology than most bass players.
And how does that apply to what you put into the band? Are you able to take some inspiration from different cultures and things like that and put it into the sounds that you're producing?
When you're studying music in an academic sense, you take things seriously. You
Yeah.
take you take things seriously, and you when you come in to studying music like as an outsider, you take things with you take it seriously, you give it reverence, you give it respect, and I think it's taught me to treat music with respect.
And Michelle, on your end, besides being the rhythm setter for the band on stage, you're the kind of the business person booking the tours, negotiating the contract, working with the venues. How are you able to balance all of those different roles without simply just getting burned out of all things Banshee Tree?
That's a good question. Um, you know, I feel like I've been doing it for so long, so I've kind of developed a flow with it. And I can kind of like compartmentalize like email time and creative time. And I mean, I just love the project so much and, love what we're doing musically that I don't see myself getting burnt out. It's more like I see booking tours like I get to basically sit on the couch and like send a lot of emails and then I get to like go on an adventure with my friends and play like the music that I want to play. So it all kind of feeds itself.
Sure, sure. And in this day and age, I think that most independent musicians really have to take charge of all aspects of their careers. I know that you've been an advocate for that, and everyone in the band has to play their part. We are just being introduced to Jesse, who is joining us. Happy to have you on board as well. Thanks for taking a couple minutes here.
I forgot about the time change. I'm in California right now, and I was like, "Oh, sweet, I have another hour." And then I was like, "Ah, no, I don't. I'm late."
No worries. We're excited that you were able to join, and we're just kind of talking a little bit about the history of the band and all the different ways that you fuse together different genres and your different elements of backgrounds to bring it into one cohesive element. But again, kind of back to what we were just saying in the industry, there's a lot of work that is shifting over the past little bit since you guys started as a band of how much effort independent bands need to really put into learning the business aspect of things and the marketing aspect. You need to be almost as proficient as that as you are masters of your instrument. So can you talk a little bit about the ways you manage both the business side and the career side of being in the band?
Yeah, I um from the very beginning, I kind of understood that like um talent isn't enough. Like by far, talent isn't enough. Um so when I went to school for music business. However, I went to school for music industry in the time where like streaming was beginning. So like nobody knew what was going on. So I didn't actually learn a ton of practical stuff, but what I did learn was the false confidence to be like, oh, well, I know how to do this. I'll just start like booking my own shows. And so just kind of from the practice of doing it on my own, just like from like knowing basically nothing, to doing it for like a really long time, that's how I kind of like gained my knowledge. It is definitely a lot for someone to take on, but what we have done is kind of uh shared duties. So like, we would take like certain tasks and be like, okay, this person handles the merch. This person handles the social media. This person handles this. And then kind of by doing that, like one person will handle the website. So kind of by becoming a little team on our own, with the goal to eventually be able to build an outside team, that has been incredibly helpful.
I think you want to, as your band grows, you want to hire people. You want to work with good people. That's like it becomes a goal to take some of these things off of your plate. But I think if you can do the things that you can do on your own and like have like an ethos about that, it saves you resources that like if we want to hire a great lighting guy for a show, or if we or if we want to hire a great lighting guy or or a great video person or any sort of or spend money for studio time, like the things like that you really can't do for yourself, saving it for that. And just like do your own merch ordering or have somebody in house around to do that, not having to delegate everything out. It really allows you to reinvest in the band in a way that you really like enjoy that spend, as opposed to like, oh man, like we kind of break even on merch because it like costs a lot of money to do merch.
And Jesse, I want to bring you into the conversation, and I'll bring you in kind of where one of the places where we started and ask your thoughts on how the band has evolved from kind of what was originally a jazz sounding band to this fusion of different sounds and different elements. And what have you appreciated most about the evolution of the band?
I joined the band in May. So I think that I'm in the perspective. I'm in the position of being a large part of that change. I've been uh, a band leader and organizer and booker in Northern California for uh, or had been for 12 or 13 years. Um, and that's really what allowed me to meet Banshee Tree. Was I've known Tom, um, who's I think you heard stuck somewhere in Brazil right now, um, uh, 12 years ago. And when he started Banshee Tree, he hit me up and was like, "Hey, do you know of any place to play around here? And can we stay with you?" And that's how I met the band and heard them then. And they continued, I got to see you guys probably every once, twice a year for 5 years or something like that.
Pretty frequently. Like it
Yeah.
was like
I mean, I
maybe
got to
two
know
every year.
Jason and Nick and Michelle super well just from them staying with me and like uh the band is really exciting. I think that one thing I'm really looking forward to in this year is to take this new sound that we have with the replacement of fiddle with saxophone and synthesizer and keyboards and vocals and really like explore that in depth. And I think we've been doing a lot of that just kind of on by the kind of by our coattails, or what's the good expression? We've been learning it on the road. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't get to join and spend two months learning all the material and all that. Like they were like, cool, yeah, no, that sounds good enough. We're going on tour and then we're going to be back for like 2 days. We're going to rehearse really hard for these 2 days, and then we've got two really big deal shows. So please don't mess up. And then we've got like 4 days off, and then we're going on tour for 3.5 weeks to the East Coast. And then we've got like another. So yeah,
We took
it's
him
been
right out.
awesome.
Yeah.
Which has been awesome, and really, it's a really cool way to learn. But the thing that I'm really excited about, speaking of the evolution of the band, and then I'll wrap up, is it's definitely evolved a lot for all the period I watched them over the years as they toured out in the West Coast. It's obviously evolved a bunch with me joining, and then it's continued to evolve as we've restructured songs and arrangements to work with this new sound. And there's so much more to come, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, it's training on the job is what you were kind of referring to, is just being told like,
Yeah,
here's what you've got to do, and you've got to do it in the performance setting. And it's interesting to hear your perspective. I'd like to hear from the other bandmates of kind of what that's like for on the vice versa side, kind of welcoming in a new band member and still trying to hold true to kind of what Banshee Tree is while allowing that person to express themselves individually.
One thing that I really loved about this band, because I also joined 7 years ago, and that was kind of when this iteration was formed. And what I loved so much about this group is that instead of being like, you need to fit into this sound, they allowed me the space to have my own voice. And that like catalyzed a whole bunch of changes. And I feel like it's been the same thing with Jesse. It's always scary when you're switching someone out when you've been building something for a long time. So you're like, oh my God, we're so used to hearing these songs this way. And, how are people gonna like deal with the change? And but we just trusted in it because Jesse is such an incredible musician and he's doing so much work too. We're like, yeah, you're gonna play keys and synths and sing and play the saxophone also. So cool. And he jumped on board for it. And we allowed him the space to like have his voice and just trusted, kind of like jumped without the net, hoping that it would work. And I think because we all just went, in with just like no reservations and just allowed the sound to be what it wanted to be, it's been like a really beautiful unfolding. And I feel like it feels like almost like a miracle was dropped down from heaven when he joined our band, because it doesn't always go that way. It's not always that
Yeah,
easy, and it's just
like
been really
like
easy and really fluid.
like just like what I think we recognized like immediately was like our departing band member Nick. Like Nick is great. Nick is a wonderful person. He is also a very strong creative voice who has like a very unique and very interesting approach to his instrument. And us just hiring another violin player was just never ever going to work. Like, and the value was getting a creative voice that we really like loved, because we've known Jesse for a long time. We always loved Jesse's playing and as a human. So having like another person, like, because we like were replacing somebody who was like a really good, like wonderful, reliable, dependable human, and also a strong creative voice. And Jesse was kind of the only person I knew who, like, I really just like knew off the top of my head who I thought like would be a good fit for it. Like, kind of literally the only person. And I'm glad when I talked to Tom about it, he had come to the same conclusion independently
And
of
you know
doing
what's
it. He
funny?
was calling me to talk, but I was already sold.
You know, all four of Banshee Tree members individually came to this, including Nick, the one who's leaving. We were
Including
all
Nick.
like, Jesse? And we all got on the phone. We were like, Jesse? And we were like, yeah. And then we called him up, and he was living in California. And we were like, hey, do you want to fly across the country next week and like rehearse with us for a week and maybe join our band? And he was like, yeah. And then he moved out to Denver, Boulder. So it was pretty kismet.
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
like all of the universal energies were aligning for what needed to happen there. And
Yeah.
now, with that said, it's been a couple years since a new single. It's been longer since the album. As you're kind of getting more formed into this new element of Banshee Tree, what is on the horizon for new work?
The album is almost finished.
We've been saying this for years, but it like actually like
It's
literally
really
been
true
saying this
now.
for years. But like it's I think part of the timing of everything that happened last year with the I think one of the reasons Nick like chose to leave at that point was that we had this album that was in that was in a finishing a stage to finish. And at that moment it it made a lot of sense to bring in the new element. So this new album isn't going to be a lot of stuff that we've been working on for years. It's going to be the new sound of this new band. But there'll be a
Mhm.
lot of things that we do play live that haven't been released yet. So it's kind of been it's taken a long time to finish, but the timing has worked out for us in a couple ways. So I'm
Yeah.
excited about it. It sounds really good. Like it's to the point where you can like actually listen to it and hear what it's going to sound like. Like it's not. It's getting to that point of done. So we're really excited
Oh,
about this.
yeah, fall release.
Fall
Yeah.
release, but it sounds like you're already playing some of those songs live, which we might hear this weekend
Yeah.
at Schmiggity's. Now, I want to ask
Yeah.
you both, or all of you, kind of about playing at Schmiggity's. Now, as the tour booker, Michelle, you've obviously worked extensively with Pat and Kim and the crew there. I've got a
Mhm.
question kind of from the business side. What do you appreciate about them? And then from the musician side, what do you like about and what are you excited about playing at that venue?
Totally. On the business side, I mean, Pat and Kim are just awesome humans. They're really great to work with. Their venue is, the sound is great. They have great lights. They take care of the bands really well. They
Yes, they
make
do.
us a home cooked meal every time, and it's just like a really nice situation, and they're so great to work with. Um, and as far as music, I mean, Steamboat is awesome. The people of the town come out and get down, and they're just like such a fun crowd to play for. It's so rowdy. It's one of my favorite
Yeah,
mountain towns to play.
for
And
for music.
it's just always a party.
For music, it's hard to beat Steamboat in the mountains. Like I've never lived in the mountains. I've lived in Colorado for a while, but always in like Denver or Boulder. When coming up, like Steamboat's like a place where like bands are coming out of Steamboat. There's multiple nice music venues in Steamboat. It's like the other towns, like there's stuff, but not quite the same. And you can see how music's valued in the community, and it's
Hmm.
it's so you love so I love coming there. There's I don't even ski, but I love coming there.
And I think that's something to be said about Colorado in general too. We just have such a great music scene, and I'm curious with you, Jesse, coming from California, what you've appreciated about moving to Colorado and being immersed in the music scene here.
Well, first off, I'm incredibly excited to play Schmiggity's. I've only played Steamboat once before. We played Snowball last year, which was a blast. Uh, and as we passed Schmiggity's on the street, they were like, "We're gonna be playing there. Like that's the spot. Like that's the right there. Like you're gonna have a really good time." So I have been hyped up for Saturday's show for 6 months or something now. I'm like very very excited. Expectations are super high. So
No pressure.
yeah. In terms of just being immersed in the Colorado scene. I would just say that I think the biggest emotion I've been feeling is relief. I'm just so grateful that there is a scene, that there is like so much going on and so many people being creative and uh, starting and continuing projects. And I mean, just I am blown away by the scene in Denver. I try to make it. I live in Boulder now, but try to make it over there as much as I can. And because it's like geographically, it's weird. It's like really far away from like so many things. And I think as a result, like everything that would happen is kind of like condensed there uh into this one state. And yeah, I'm just so grateful to have
Yeah,
found a living, breathing scene that has momentum behind it and just so many musicians, so many music lovers, so many organizers, so many lighting people, so many videographers, so many like engineers, just all of the things that create the scene. People have real vigor behind it. And in California, that was something I witnessed really take a downturn. And it was kind of breaking my heart a little bit. Um, so Colorado just feels like this massive breath of fresh air of just to get to be kind of part of this whirlwind of creativity. And yeah,
it,
I'm super grateful.
it's a lot of people who are like actually doing it.
Yeah.
It isn't a thing that's supported by because music in Colorado, like it's nice that we have our like really amazing venue infrastructure, but it's that people come out to see all sorts of things. Like it's
Hmm.
like Dem- Denver and Boulder are not bad places to be like new bands starting out. It's expensive to live, but otherwise, like there is audiences for all sorts of music, all sorts of weird things. You don't
Hmm.
have to do one. I think our band's testing it that you don't have to like do one thing or like appeal to something that's like super pre-existing, and like people have an open mind towards things and they like to support the bands that are from Colorado. Like there's a lot of Colorado gives a lot of love to Colorado bands, which is not always the case in different communities in different states. So
Yeah.
really a nice thing about the infrastructure in Colorado isn't so much like having like big studios or anything like that. Like for your average person, but it's just like the people in Colorado are the great resource as far as like our music community.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that makes, our music scene here in Steamboat really special as well. Pat and Kim doing a great job of bringing in Colorado bands, and just the audiences here love to see people that just love to play music and love to interact with the audience. And I know that you guys will be doing that on Saturday night. Want to thank you very much for your time. Banshee Tree playing Schmiggity's Saturday, February 1st. Go and check it out. And of course, if you do and you have the Steamboat Locals app downloaded, you can get a free well drink at the bar. So thank you guys very much for joining us.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
you.
us.